Well, is this a, shut the radio off, a different view? Got the T8030 and a Sunflower 6332 20-foot soil finisher that's been converted to a VT tool. Going across this hill ground. My farm's right behind those trees over there. Matter of fact, that woods right there is our woods. Right there's the main farm for this farmer. My neighbor. That's where I borrowed the guy I borrowed the disc from. I've been helping him out since I was like 8. Kind of taught me the ropes of grain farming. Cruising along, 12th gear, about 8.5 miles an hour, 2,000 RPM. Trying to stay ahead of the planter because I don't know if you can see him right over there. John Deere 8310 and a Kinsey 3650 12-row interplanter. Planting beans in that little 3-acre patch, and he's got that 3 acres, which he is taking his last pass on, and he has 9 acres right over there across behind that little building, and he's got this, and I have to have at least this section up to the township building there done so he can make his outside rounds. I'd be a lot further along, except going across these waterways takes some time. So you gotta speed up and slow down. Really slow because of the washouts. We would dig those waterways up and redo them, but you can't because you use so much work that waterway up a little bit, it's going to wash out, and it's going to wash out good. So you can't really fix them, you just gotta deal with them. There's a neighbor with a sprayer. See what I mean? It's not even a slight incline and it's washing out. And he was just gonna no-till this, but there's just so many little washouts and clumps of bean stubble that the planter won't plant through it. So we just gotta lightly skim the soil, mix that stuff in. What sucks is with this tillage tool to do a good job, speed is the name of the game. And being as rough as this field is, you can't go very fast without it bouncing. See how it's bouncing? You don't want that because then it creates like a washboard effect. And a lot of these fields he figured out, because this, I think he converted that over 6 years ago from shovels. Because the shovels, he was doing all corn soybean rotation at the time. Now he's just doing beans, so it doesn't matter. But before when he was doing corn, the shovels would plug up with corn stalks. So he solved that conversion kit to vertical tillage at the Farm Science Review and changed it over to that about 8 years ago. But he found out over time there's a point of going too slow and there's a point of going way too fast. Because if you get going like 10, 12 miles an hour with this thing, it hops. He never thought anything about it, but after about 2 years of that, it created over all the fields a nice washboard. So that involved a lot of chisel plowing that year, and slow chisel plowing, because it was so washboard effect that it was making the chisel plow bounce. Climb this hill. The camera probably doesn't show it, but this hill is really steep. Like right here, it gets incredibly steep really fast. Using 93, 96%, 100% engine power, 101% engine power. It's not even smoking. I swear this is a Cummins motor, but the book says it's an Iveco, but it looks just like a 8.3 Cummins. Sounds just like an 8.3 Cummins. And it's an 8.3 liter. I think it's just an Iveco knockoff of Cummins. New Holland likes to do that. Just take a reputable company and a copy off of it. Case IH. Because I do believe the Case Magnums actually have a Cummins in them. It's not an Iveco motor. Even though this is like the exact same as the Case, I want to say 210 Magnum. And yeah, it's a new tractor, but we don't use GPS. GPS is for lames. Of course, he doesn't run enough ground anymore to really have an excuse to get GPS. Because he used to, at one point, about 8 years ago, run about 1,000 acres. Which I know to some of you guys is like piddly. But around here, that's pretty big. But then he started dwindling off, and now I think he's down about 600 acres. Yeah, it's about 600. Because he used to farm all my ground, and then he offered me a couple years ago to take it back over, and I was like, well, sure. Can't say no to that. And this hereafter, when we're done planting, which is going to be probably not very long, because I think we're about 3/4 of the way done. He's going to have a auction. He's got a bunch of old equipment, like that disc that I had in that one video. 14-foot Brilliant cultivator that looks brand spanking new. White 6-bottom plow that I really, really want. I might come on with that, because I'm pretty sure the white will pull it, even if the motor does die. And a couple other things, I'm trying to remember. Big 20-foot wide cultipacker, 6-row cultivator, gravity wagons out the wazoo, a bunch of other stuff. Basically everything that you could pull with a 140 horse tractor, because that was their main horse. They had two 9600s. Sold one 9600 about 10 years ago, and then kept one. That was the newer one. The older one had about, what did he say, 8,000-ish hours on it. The other one that is being used as a seed tender cart puller is got 5,300 hours on it. Yep, there he goes over to that 9 acres. Means I really have to hurry up. I do have to say, this thing makes a heck of a roar when you lug it. Of course, with that 12 finisher, there's really no lugging. I'm pretty sure I could pull it with my 135. It's just that, the finished tool itself weighs a lot. Stupid subdivisions. We had to do a lot of work to that waterway right there, because all the subdivision up in those trees, they all drain on there, and they don't have a proper retaining pond to hold the water, so it just flows out in the field and washes out every year. And the waterway just keeps getting bigger and bigger, and the water just keeps figuring out another way. the other side of that ditch right there is our woods. And it is really fun to watch deer jump from the woods across that ditch into the field. Because some of them don't make it. Usually where you find shed antlers, where they jump across. Oh, that's a big hole. Whoa, geez. Alright. Just pull that thing right out of gear. Oh, he's going to do that field right there. Oh, I got plenty of time then. I thought that was that field over there. There's a field right across the creek there. I thought that was done already. Guess it's not. Whew. 9 miles an hour downhill. I'm gonna jump this little bit of the waterway. No, I'm not. I'm gonna go around it. The thing is with this thing, with those stupid vertical tillage blades instead of shovels, you can't turn very sharp with it, otherwise it bends shanks. And trust me, I've bent shanks out before, and those things are not fun to straighten. It makes you learn real quick not to turn too sharp. Look, a rock. We've always joked, me and the neighbor and his wife always joked, man, corn and soybeans don't work out. We always become rock farmers because there's a plentiful amount of rocks. I can tell you that. I meant to get video the other day. He had me come down with my field cultivator and the white to, gonna grease that telephone pole. Come down and level out some of the spots that he chisel plowed, because this thing wasn't leveling it out. And I was running in 5th gear overdrive, half throttle, with the field cultivator, cruising right along. That was pretty fun. We were all in the same field. We had my tractor and field cultivator and this thing and the planter all in one field, rolling across the ground. That was pretty cool. And it was kind of one of those spur of the moment things, so I didn't have time to grab the camera. And you'll probably see in the corn planting video that I said, oh, I'll be back next time when it dries out. Well, it ended up, as soon as I got the tractor parked in the barn, it quit raining. And so I went in, I ate dinner, and by the time I got out, the ground was dry again. So I went ahead and finished, ended up running until about 9:30, 9:40. Ended up finished planting corn, so I guess that's all of the corn planting video that you're gonna get. And I'm thinking about selling the H, the Farmall H. I finished painting it. I gotta get decals on it. The hood didn't really turn out the greatest because somebody completely whopper jawed that whole hood, but it's better than what it was. But I'm thinking about selling it just because I don't really have a use for it. And it's the only gas vehicle we have on the farm, so I have to go out and go out of my way to get fuel for it whenever it needs it. Otherwise, it's just taking space up in the barn. And that's kind of really why I bought it, as a flipper. Mechanically, the thing's great. It was a little sticky in second and third, but after some use, it's great. stop, check my phone. Somebody texted me. When it comes to phones, I'm like a 90-year-old man. Okay. Air puffed a little smoke. Really hard to get this thing to blow smoke. Of course, when you're pulling about 1,200 bushels of wet corn, that'll make it smoke. You guys are still rolling, right? Yep. Hopefully I'm not pointing down too far. I'll adjust a little bit. Great view up here. Rocks like to get stuck in the mud scrapers on those front gangs. And sometimes you get a rock stuck in there, it's a pain to get it out. I guess last year he rented oh, what was it? Case T8030 turbo till. And it was 25 foot wide. That thing, he didn't like the job that it did, but I liked it. This thing, it made it lug. You had to run the thing wide open, but it did a beautiful job. The only thing he didn't like about it is because it was making it chunky, but I think it's because it was digging up, because we were going deeper than what we were with this soil finisher, and it was digging up a little bit of the compaction that this thing made over the last 8 years. Because right now we're only running about 1.5 inches, 2 inches deep. It looks deeper than that, but it's, you scuff the surface and it's just basically chewed up crust on top with some bean stubble. But he did admit later that fall it was the best yielding beans is back there behind that red barn, that big field back there. He rented it for like 100 acres. I ended up using the thing the entire time that he rented it. I ended up using it. I don't think he actually ever tried it. And the reason we rented it is because this thing needed new vertical tillage blades bad. It needed them really, really bad. So it was either trade this thing off for that turbo till or put new blades on it. Because basically the trade-off value they wanted for that turbo till was straight up trade for the soil finisher. But that turbo till had a few problems with it too. It had a bunch of cracked blades, and the rolling basket arms that held it on, that was just stupid design by Case. They made the rolling basket arms like 8.5 feet long off the back of the thing, so you got this big of a gap, like, you know, an 8-foot gap in between the very back part of the gang of the disc and then the rolling baskets. So all that weight, when you pick it up and swing around the corner, I ended up breaking off like 6 or 7 of the big long bolts to hold the rolling baskets to the frame of the disc. So that was a very poor design. Other than that, it worked good. This thing though in the hills, it didn't like it. Ended up having downshift to about 5 miles an hour to climb up a hill. And at that point it's clawing. This thing isn't weighted down enough for that. Mention this, hydraulics of this thing are a little slow, and if you notice, I don't know if you noticed, I'm using the number 2 remote. This one doesn't work. We've had the dealer, he had the dealer out like I think 4 times, and basically told him that we don't know what's wrong with it, have fun. And I still think it's the stupid servo in the remote, can't speak. The remote stack, one of the servos or the actuators are bad. because you can go back there and tap on it and it'll work fine for a couple up and downs and it'll act up. So we just put it on number 2. Which is actually kind of better because when you're that close to the gear shift, it like ergonomically it's not very comfortable. Versus I can come down and hit, it's not as close. Have to get out here and mow these waterways. That's one thing I wonder if it would help with washing out. We mow the waterways twice a year. Right after we're done planting and then right after we're done harvesting, we'll come in and mow them. Which some of the waterways it helps because it helps them grow in thicker. But some like that one back there, it's kind of sparse. We got the big washout. It's never washed out before. This year, I think he said he's doing Liberty Link beans. So that'd be an interesting, see how those do. See if it's really all the, what all the talk is about. I think we're only doing 200 acres of Liberty Link beans though. Just kind of a tryout, even though this is last year. Kind of sucks. That means all this land will probably get divided up into subdivisions, and I'll tell you right now that it won't be very long before we're moving, especially if that happens. And I don't know how much longer I'm going to be farming for real. Not that I'm really farming for real right now, but I go off to college, well, not really off to college, but I go to the community college in town. But it won't be long before I'm going to be running around like a chicken with my head cut off. I won't have enough time to get out in the field and get my own stuff done. I'm only running 45, 50 acres. I'd love to pick more ground up, but I'm hesitant to do it. Because I know at least another 20 acres I could probably get pretty quick, but I'm just hesitant to do it because if I make that obligation of, hey, I'm gonna farm that, I'm gonna have to farm that, and if I don't have time to do it, it'll end up just growing up in weeds. Of course, I could leave it in hay, do hay, but I hate hay. I'm pretty sure this video has been plenty long enough. I'll probably end up cutting some of the stuff out, so now get back to work. I can turn my radio on and turn the air conditioning up a little bit more and get back to work. So thanks for watching, and there'll be plenty more coming. I got still 40 acres, or not 40 acres. I'm tired. Until I've had a lot of late nights. I have 20 acres of beans to plant, and then it'll probably be on to cultivating corn by then. So plenty more to come. Thanks for watching.